So, good morning, Petra.
Good morning.
And thank you for doing this conversation with me
Thanks to you.
about your work and your book. Before we start, just maybe spend a few minutes telling me about yourself, your life,
Yes.
and what you do.
Yes. So I am married with Luca. We have two children, Viola, 10 years old, and Emiliano, 7 years old. I work as a psychotherapist in Lugano, Switzerland. And I started studying psychosynthesis in the mid-90s in a center in Milano, in a center of the Istituto di Psicosintesi. And then after graduation at the Italian Society for Psychosynthesis Psychotherapy.
As you know, what we're here to talk about this morning is the Way of Psychosynthesis. And this is a very lovely book that I want our students and those people associated with our institute in London to know much more about. Tell me a little bit about the book, why it was really important for you, why this book's important for you.
Yeah. And
also, if you can say a little bit about who are you writing The Way of Psychosynthesis for, because it's been translated into English.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
Yes.
So just say a little bit, if you would, about that.
So I started, I wrote The Way of Psychosynthesis 20 years ago because it was my degree thesis. And as you said, I wrote it out of passion to deeply understand this monumental vision of human being that fascinated me so much. But for 10 years, I didn't think on publish it.
Okay.
Then one morning, I was just walking with my newborn daughter in the wood, and I felt a sudden desire, need to share my work with other students, colleagues. And 2 years ago, the same thing happened with the translation into English. I wanted to share this work with the international community. And I started the project even without knowing English well. A crazy adventure indeed. The book is composed by 4 monographic parts. The first one tells the life of Roberto Assagioli. And he himself once wrote, biography have an high educational value, so a living example has more influence than many other forms of teaching. So the book begins with this inspiring biography, so full of interesting anecdotes. Assagioli was really an amazing man. He was very young. He went to Russia. He did a lot of things.
He was fascinating, wasn't he? He was fascinated with travel and.
Yeah. Yes. The second part of the book can also be interesting for all those who are interested in psychology in a broad sense, because it is about the development of the different dimensions or forces of psychology in the last century. So from behaviorism and psychoanalysis to humanistic existential psychology and transpersonal or spiritual psychology, to the new complex and integrative paradigm of psychoenergetics. So I can say that the third and the fourth part of the book, The Way of Psychosynthesis, presents psychosynthesis, both from a more theoretical point of view, models, field of application diagrams, and from an experiential, technical point of view, the 7 fundamental experiences of psychosynthesis that constitute the core of psychosynthesis. So the first experience, this identification, is about creating more space between us and the different role we play in life, the so-called subpersonalities. The more I free myself from old masks or inappropriated masks, more my being can breathe, can move. And what you said before, this natural, authentic movement of being is the will.
Exactly.
The third experience, because it is not just about contemplating in psychosynthesis.
Exactly.
Psychosynthesis leads to action, an action who is rooted in our true being, so guided by love or by the awareness of the profound interconnection of all things. So thus we become more and more what we may be. We realize our ideal model, which is the fourth experience of psychosynthesis.
Flowering and flourishing of our unique potential.
Yes, yes. And then we have the fifth experience, very important one, the experience of synthesis.
Exactly.
The process of integration, organization, and synthesis is the guiding principle of all psychosynthesis. And is also the way that lead us to the last two experiences safely, meaning without a psychological split.
Right, exactly.
Without exaltations, fanaticism. This is very important because it's a risk. It's so difficult to talk about the self because the language is a product of our rational mind. Why the self is not a concept, is not a theoretical construct. It's an experience we live through our body and its sensation, through our desire, emotion, feeling.
I've got a question for you, because one of the projects that we're very much involved in here at the moment is the whole notion of serving humanity in transition. And what you're just been talking to, what I think is really interesting for us is how important a meta context, a psychology like psychosynthesis is in the context of serving humanity, being in such a transition. Do you want to say a little bit about that? Does that make sense to you?
I think psychosynthesis is a true gift for humanity in transition.
Right now.
We have two core questions, two very important questions in psychosynthesis. Who am I really?
Yes.
And what do I really want? Psychosynthesis lead us to action. And we can remember the original 5 fields of application of psychosynthesis.
Exactly.
Of course, we have psychotherapy,
yes,
but we have education, yes, children education and adult permanent education. And then we have self-training and interpersonal relationship and the social field.
This has been a very powerful conversation, Petra, and I really want to thank you because people will really, I think you bring a level of clarity and understanding to the way of psychosynthesis that is very interesting for people. So I want to thank you, and I hope this has been useful for you as well.
Thank you so much. Your question helped me very much to reflecting on the subject, and so thank you, Roger.